This is a great morning. I'm just going to let the music play just a little bit for us to get grounded, to get in the space, to be here right now where we need to be so that we can receive the message today. I am whole. This I know. I am whole. This I know. I am healthy, I am whole. I am worthy and complete. When I open up my eyes, I let Spirit guide my feet. As I move throughout my day, I bless all who I may meet. And as I lay back down to rest, I let go for peaceful sleep. I am whole. This I know. I am whole. This I know. I am safe and I am whole. This is the truth I know. When I open up my heart, I let Spirit guide my flow. As I move throughout my day, I count the blessings as I go. And as I lay back down to rest, I say thanks and it is so. 'Cause I am whole. This I know. I am whole. This I know. I am the calm beyond the storm. I am free from any harm. So I surrender to this feeling. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I surrender. I am willing. I receive the gifts before me. I enjoy the journey that is just for me. I am whole. I am whole. I'm whole. This I know. I know. I am whole. This I know right here, right now, I am whole. Yes, I am. happy Sunday.
Well, that was a song of prayerfulness. Thank you, Rhonda, for always bringing something so beautiful to us. I just love it when you're here. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching from, wherever in the world you are today. Or maybe you're watching us during the week, because with the beauty of technology, we can save this forever and you can watch it anytime. So the theme for the year is still 2020 Vision, and we are in a brand new month today. November is living as a compassionate conduit. And today the topic is your divine authority. What I want to talk about is how this whole weekend is packed with different kinds of festivals and holidays, some more historic than others, not to mention that we're getting ready for an election in the United States. But it's filled with all kinds of experiences, and we are really being called to live our spiritual wisdom. We are being called to live from a deeper place, to heighten our awareness, and to make choices from that place of inner authority. So my name is Frankie Timmers. I'm the spiritual director at Center for Spiritual Living Morristown. And with me is the beautiful Rhonda Denet, who's blessing us with song. And we have a guest that is a licensed practitioner at Center for Spiritual Living Princeton, and that is Jon Heron. And Jon is an amazing storyteller. So he's going to bless us with a story later on and a closing treatment. I want you to check out our website, which is www.cslmorristown.org. Rhonda is even on there. So take a look, because there's all kinds of good stuff there. And I want you who are on Facebook Live to write us a message, to use the bubbles, to ask any question, to make suggestions. We will look at them later and we will always consider them, to share our page, to do a watch party, to share all our information. And if you are on YouTube, you can also do a thumbs up and write us a message. So right now, I want to start with an opening treatment, which is our word for affirmative prayer. Even though Rhonda sang us prayerfully, I now get to speak us prayerfully. So know with me that there is a power and a presence in the universe that is greater than we are. It is the divine authority of all life. And it moves and has its being by means of creation, which includes each and every one of us. It is utterly reliable, maybe even more reliable than the pages on the calendar or the seasonal changes or the tides in the ocean or even the moon cycle. And so today we rely more deeply on this presence that is within us so that we can live prayerful lives, so that we can remember that we are instruments of the divine, so we can know that there is a purpose of our lives, why we are here now and not a century ago, not a century from now. So each of us gets to bring a unique divine purpose to life. Each of us gets to express a divine authority in a unique way. And today we are open and receptive to this experience in a deeper way, and we are ready to let go of whatever is in the way. That makes this moment the greatest blessing, and each of us is receptive to this blessing in their own way. So we let gratitude, deep acceptance, and awe be our next moment, our next breath, our next heartbeat, and so it is. So, I have a few things to share with you. And one of the things that have preoccupied me this weekend is the awareness that there's something in the air. right? There's something going on. There is much happening. The end of October, the beginning of November is a very rich time since the beginning of time. There's Halloween, for those of you who love Halloween. I hid in my room with the curtains closed. There's All Saints and All Souls Day for those of us who were raised in the Catholic tradition. We've set our clocks back and gained an extra hour of sleep. Now we're at normal time. There is Dios de los Muertos, which many of the Latin communities are celebrating. And we have the elections happening this coming Tuesday in the United States. Well, 2,000 years ago, that time of shift and energetic force was happening during the Iron Age, because the Celts, who were in Scotland, the United Kingdom, Ireland, and northern France, were celebrating something really big. And as most of us know by now, that many of the holidays we know today are based upon the pagan traditions. And pagan doesn't mean anything but those who live in the country, under the sky, under the stars, right? And so the whole idea then was that this was a big time. And so it's called the holiday of Samhain, the Celtic holiday of Samhain. And this holiday is exactly between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. And it's a very significant festival. It represented the end of summer, time to harvest, and getting ready for a long, dark winter. The early Christians grabbed that time of year and began to celebrate All Saints' Day, which is on All Hallows' Eve, which is the 31st, I think. No, it's today, November 1st, and All Souls' Day, which would be tomorrow. I learned something very interesting. All Saints' Day is about celebrating all those who are already in heaven. All Souls' Day is to pray for those who aren't yet. So I think we called that purgatory way back when. Mm-hmm. And that didn't mean people weren't baptized, but they hadn't offered their sins up yet. So how interesting is that? It's still a feast. It's still about embracing all of it in the present moment awareness, and having enough awareness to choose to come from the wholeness inside, the holiness inside, the spiritual wisdom that is still everywhere present, turning it into something that serves us instead of works against us. And so I'd like to bring in 3 things today that are very much a part of the Samhain festival and that era, that time of year, which is it's time to take stock, because that was their new year. And it's time to sacrifice, which is a word that many people don't like because it's scary, but sacrifice just means make sacred. And it also means to let go of what no longer serves us. And then I want to talk about the veil that is very thin between life and death anyway, but during Halloween, All Hallows' Eve, and Samhain, that was a very big part of the festival. Which means that we have to not just let go of what we're ready to release, but we have to choose how we want to be reborn. What do we want to bring with us in this new time, this new era? How apropos. So taking stock then. Taking stock really just means to sit down and take a look. What's happening in my life, in my world? What's my part in it? How do I want to celebrate that? And if I don't want to celebrate it, can I release it? And how do I choose to release that? How do I work with this? Because we know in our teaching that everything reflects my consciousness. That what I'm experiencing in my life is about my consciousness, and what you're experiencing is about your consciousness. And when we fight it, it's a different experience than we say, oh, that's so interesting. Let me see what that's about. So taking stock means taking an inventory. What's going on? Kind of like what we do maybe at New Year's or New Year's Eve. To reflect on that. I think that is worthy of a daily, weekly, or a monthly reflection. At least it is for me. And then to sacrifice, to release what's in the way. What is it that you're ready to let go of? What is it that doesn't serve you anymore? What do you wish to be free of? I was talking to someone recently, and they were talking about how they had held a resentment towards someone for a very long time. And they said, and I'm not going to let it go because they don't deserve it. And I was like, oh, well, but it doesn't harm them. Your holding the resentment harms you. It affects your body, your mind, your heart, your soul, your life. It shows up in your world. So maybe if something isn't working in your life, it's because you're holding something that you're ready to let go of that just doesn't serve you anymore. So that's about choice, right? We know in our teaching that the greatest freedom we each have is the freedom to choose. And we're always choosing. We don't even realize it. I had to choose which dress to put on my body this morning, and I'm sure Rhonda did too, and we both made pretty good choices. We're a bit color coordinator. Color coordinator. Mine is more muted. She's more bright. We had to choose to be here this morning. We had to choose to get up this morning, right? And so we're constantly making choices, and a lot of the choices, most of the choices we make are based upon our own belief system. And so I love the Science of Mind magazine this month for November, which has a beautiful picture of the young Marilyn Leo who got to sit at Ernest Holmes's feet. It's a metaphor, and it's a wonderful article. But I love the writings this month by Jeffon Seeley, who's just a brilliant young man. And he says in the magazine today, each day we can find great power by venturing into our inner world and acknowledging our internal state before venturing out into the world. Isn't that great? As we descend down the eternal steps toward the seat of our soul, we begin to see elaborate gardens, structures, and landscapes created by our memories, beliefs, perspectives, and outlooks. With an honest introspection, we can see that everything in our external life is a reflection of a seed that has taken root within us. Everything, he doesn't just say a couple of things, everything in our external life is a reflection of a seed that has taken root within us. If you want this magazine today, find your way to a Barnes & Noble. They carry it. The other day I saw it right there. I almost pulled it out and put it up front, but so you get to choose what needs, wants to die, is dying in and around you, and what you want to birth anew. And that means we have to think ahead, because we are 100% responsible for those choices, and every choice we make has a consequence. I think if we think about the consequences more of important choices that we make, and we see them through, then we will take more and make more time to really think it through. I love what Gary Zukav says. He's one of my favorite authors. Choice is the engine of evolution. Choice is the engine of evolution. If you choose unconsciously, you will evolve unconsciously. If you choose consciously, you will evolve consciously. The power of choice is the greatest gift you have been given, second only to the gift of life itself. So, you and I are divine authorities based on the authority of Spirit already within us. We each are the author of our own life. Author means creator, originator. We have to own that authority and know that we can use it to make ourselves clearer and wiser and more conscious, being aware that we are conduits of the divine, and that awareness frees us. So we can ask ourselves, who chooses? In me, who chooses? Is it the saint or the sinner? It's often the sinner when I want chocolate or candies. And so it's a saint when I choose to choose the high road, right? So we can use those words, not literally, but know that the sinner part of us is the part that makes mistakes. And we all do, because none of us are perfect. We're all still practicing. And the saint is who chooses love and wisdom and creativity and joy and forgiveness. And so we're always choosing. And so spiritual life is about making the choices that don't just serve us, but serve the greater good, serves all of humanity, serves the future, shows us the way, frees us so that we can make peace with the past and learn from the mistakes that we have made and choose to make clearer choices and then grow. One of my favorite prayers is the prayer of St. Francis, who happens to be my patron saint. I was raised a Catholic girl, and I've always loved St. Francis. So I want you to join me in this prayer that I will use in closing. And then we get some music with Rhonda, and then we get Jon to visit with us. What I want you to do is, when I pause between each line, I want you to repeat it as if you're speaking it right into your heart. So put your hands on your heart and join me. Lord, or law, or God, or Spirit, or beloved, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. And it is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life.
Thank you for that, Reverend Frankie. You took me back to Catholic school. I loved St. Francis. He's St. Francis of Assisi, right?
Yeah.
Okay. He did a lot of things with animals, and I remember I had to do a report or something, and I really, really studied St. Francis of Assisi and really enjoyed him. So thank you for bringing the memory. This song is called I Am Willing. We have the choices, and we get to answer the question. There are things I prefer. There are dreams that I presume, and maybe I won't. No matter what happens, No matter what perspective I see, there's a question that remains. Am I willing? Love is listening. Am I willing? The law is ready. Am I willing to allow the good in my life? I can choose to be a victim of each and every circumstance. I can choose to be a victor and strut around in a winning dance. No matter what appears, that question still remains. Am I willing? Love is listening. Am I willing? The law is ready. Am I willing to allow the good in my life? There is good all around us. It's there for the taking. Step into your birthright with the choices that you're making. I am willing. Yes, I'm willing to be open. I am willing. I'm willing to receive. I am willing to accept all the good that's for me. I am, yes I am, I'm willing. I'm willing to be open. I am willing. I'm willing to receive. I am willing to accept the good in my life. I am willing to allow the good in my life. Hey. I'm willing.
Thank you, Rhonda. Like the old showbiz statement, I need to follow that. Anyway, I'm Jon Heron. I am a practitioner with CSL Princeton. And Reverend Frankie gave me the opportunity to be here today with all of you. I was so interested in Reverend Frankie's talk today, because one thing that's been really concerning me lately is all the layers of chaos that are showing up in our lives. And every day we get up and there's a new thing out there. And some days it's really challenging for me. You know, I get drawn into it. And so I love that St. Francis prayer, you know, where there is darkness, light. And the fact of us needing to choose that's what Ernest Holmes teaches us, right? Divine love is there. It's up to us to choose it, to know it. And I was thinking this morning about what Reverend Frankie told me she was going to be speaking about. And there's this wonderful Buddhist story that I thought was very apropos. It's the story of Angulimala. Maybe some of you have heard it. There are a lot of different versions out there. So Buddha, after his enlightenment, and the word Buddha means the awakened one. So after his awakening, many people followed him to receive his teaching. And he developed a whole group of monks that used to wander the countryside in India, practicing that truth. And they would stop in a village, and the villagers would gather around for the teaching, and they would feed the monks, and then the monks would move on. And Buddha was quite aware that sometimes it was a stretch for the villagers to feed this group of monks. And so he was careful only to stop in the villages that had the prosperity that they could manage this. And one time he was going to a village that he had been to before, quite a prosperous village. And they arrived there, and he noticed that something was different from the previous times that they had been in this village. And he saw that the villagers were very drawn and hungry looking. And so he began to ask. Well, the source of prosperity of these villagers was that on the banks of the river outside the village, there was a reed that grew there that was very strong and very pliant. And so they could make baskets out of it. And those baskets were quite wonderful and very much in demand. And there was a town nearby where they would go. There was a market once a week, and they would bring their baskets and sell the baskets, and that was the source of the prosperity in the town. To get to this town, there was a stretch of jungle between the two villages. In that jungle, a terrible robber had taken up residence, and his name was Angulimala. And Angulimala meant a garland of fingers. If anybody went through the jungle where Angulimala was, he would attack them, steal everything that they had, and cut off a finger and put it in a garland around his neck. He was a rough guy, right? And so they had tried everything to convince him, to fight him. They couldn't. And so the source of prosperity of this village was cut off because they couldn't get to the market. When Buddha heard this, he said, "Don't worry, I'm going to take care of it." And they said, "Well, you can't. What are you going to do?" He said, "I'm going into this jungle to meet this Angulimala." And they said, "No, you can't do that. He'll kill you." And he said, "I'm going, and I'm going alone." And so after trying to convince him, and they couldn't convince him, Buddha went off into the jungle. And totally centered in his truth, he walked along to the middle of the jungle. And all of a sudden, he heard a voice, "Stop!" He paid no attention, kept going forward in his consciousness. "Stop!" Buddha just kept walking. Again he heard, "I said stop." Buddha looked up and he said, "No, you stop. I stopped long ago." And suddenly there was silence, and out of the trees dropped this huge man with a garland of fingers around his neck and a sword and all sorts of things on his body. And he said, "What did you mean when you said, 'You stop, I stopped long ago'?" And Buddha preached to the man, and he taught him the Four Noble Truths. And from his consciousness, somehow, this man, this terrible person, really heard the consciousness that was the Buddha and totally changed. So this story has been very much sort of in my consciousness in the middle of the kind of chaos that we've been experiencing in our lives. Because it's so easy, at least I certainly find it so easy to get drawn in, right? The latest crazy thing that some politician did, the latest story about the pandemic, whatever it is, there are so many layers of chaos going on in our world. But Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind teaches us that by the practices that we're taught in this teaching, through spiritual mind treatment, which is a meditation, a contemplation, a visualization, and many other things at the same time, or whatever spiritual practice you do, It's our way of stopping and saying to ourselves, you stop. And getting to the place where we can say, I stopped long ago. For me personally, what I know is because I have a regular practice of meditation and different spiritual practices, and I see a practitioner on a regular basis, on those days when I'm getting pulled into it, when the world seems like more chaos than I can handle, those are the days that I say to myself, you stop. You have a spiritual basis to your life. You have spiritual practices that you've been doing for years. This is the time to trust those practices. That what's present in the world is divine love, that the world is created out of divine love, that this is what is present. And the chaos is the outer appearance of it. But the truth of it is that divine love is present. And so, with that thought, I would just add that if you have a practice, a regular practice of meditation or contemplation or whatever it is that you may do, these are the times to really stop and trust those practices, to know that they are there for a reason. They are there for just these moments when we need them. And if you don't have a practice, then this is the time for you to start building one. And if you don't know how to do that, there are wonderful books. You can come and see a practitioner. You can talk to Reverend Frankie. And you build that practice for these moments when you need to stop and know a deeper truth. So in that light, I would like to do a spiritual mind treatment, an affirmative prayer. So this word is for each one listening and for CSL Morristown. Knowing that what is present in the world is divine love, that the world is created out of divine love, in divine love, and it is only divine love that is present in, around, and through everything. And since it is in, around, and through everything, it is in, around, and through us, in, around, and through each one listening to this message, and in, around, and through CSL Morristown. That is what is present. And knowing this presence, I now declare that the truth is that each one is experiencing and expressing in their lives the perfect divine love. The choice of love is being made by each one. And therefore, the world around each one is filled with that divine love. And each one is experiencing this more and more in their lives. There is a deeper truth. It is always present. And I know that each one is knowing and experiencing and feeling that truth and filling their world with divine love. And I'm so grateful to know this truth, and I release it to the law, and so it is.
Well, that was really lovely. Left me kind of speechless. The word stop has completely new meaning. You know, we can tell ourselves, stop it. That's a whole other story I'll have to tell another time. All right, so I invite you to check out our website, go on Instagram, YouTube, Meetup, Facebook. We have 2 pages, private and public, to Twitter. Did I say Twitter? Go to Twitter. Let's flood Twitter with positive affirmations. And share that with people. If you love our community, let everybody you know about us through all the different avenues. I want you to know that we do have social hour on Zoom. So if you're on our email list, you have that link. If you're not and you want to be, let us know. And we have a wonderful new class starting tomorrow night with Theo Tilton, who is a master at Prosperity Plus, certified dream builder, coach, teacher. So that starts at 7 p.m. tomorrow night online. We are doing a vigil here on Tuesday between 3 p.m. and 8 p.m., but you must sign up for it. If you want to come for an hour at 3, 4, 5, or 6, let us know, or 7. I'll be here, and we'll make it very safe. There will not be more than 5 people in our sanctuary, but we're holding the high watch for divine right action and healing, and we're so grateful that you're all a part of that process. On Saturday, we have the Men Who Care Men's Meeting, and that's online as well. So if you want to know more about that, let us know. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and don't ever forget that you are loved. And now we have a more beautiful music with Rhonda Denet.
It has been a pleasure to be here with you this morning. And I'm going to close with a song that I actually wrote when things started getting a little crazy this summer. It's about, and I think it's appropriate for what's coming up this week in terms of us all making our choice and voting. When we come together, things always get better. We just need to make room for that. When we come together, things will all get better. There's more than enough for each and every one of us. Hear the cries across the nation, saying no more separation. No one should be left behind. Don't you think it's time? Everyone needs a seat at the table, for only then are we able to find a way out of confusion. The way forward is inclusion, 'cause when we come together, things will all get better. There's more than enough for each and every one of us. No matter what color or creed, we all have basic needs. A place to call home, and some fresh air to breathe. No matter where you start, you can do your part. It's time to find a better solution. The way forward is inclusion, 'cause when we come together, things will all get better. There's more than enough for each and every one of us. Come on. When we come together, things will all get better. There's more than enough for each and every one of us. When we come together, things will all get better. They'll get better and better and better. There's more than enough for each and every one of us. For each and every one of us. For every single one. Every single one of us. For each and every one. Every one of us. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, well, the rest of the weekend, and a beautiful week.
Bye, everybody.